For a few months now, I had the pleasure of owning a Canon R5 Mark II. And after completing my big video comparison between the R5, the R5C and the R5 II, I realized I didn't really need my R5C anymore. But my decision has less to do with the video quality or its capabilities. Today I will explain you why I think the R5 Mark II is the better video camera overall. At least for me. I'm David, you are watching The Vision, and let's go. Since this summer, I've been producing many of my videos with the new Canon R5 Mark II. I've experimented a lot, shot a ton of footage, and feel like I know this camera pretty well. The R5C has been with me since the early 2022s, and we've been through a lot. One of the most annoying aspects of the R5C has been its battery life. The camera drains the LP6NH batteries incredibly quick. Although they still held more than 7.5 volts of charge, they weren't enough to keep the R5C running. Even in real-time 4K recording, a battery didn't last more than 30 minutes. For 4K 60 FPS or higher, it was even less, sometimes just 15 to 20 minutes. I bought 5 different DC couplers for the R5C, but only Canon's own coupler, which requires a 9 volt input, is primarily usable in studio setups, but just with a DC adapter. It works correctly with all the camera features. The other couplers often showed me low battery warnings on batteries that weren't empty or didn't support features like the 8K RAW recording. Most of the time I powered the R5C via USB-C power delivery, using a V-mount battery with an output or USB-C power adapter here in my studio. But running the R5C without any external power was a hassle, especially when used on a gimbal, as it requires either a V-mount or a power bank being attached anywhere on the gimbal as well. There's now an energy saving mode in the camera, brought there by firmware, but that dims the display down, which isn't ideal in outside scenarios. And speaking of which, the R5C's display is dimmer in video mode than in photo mode, and even darker in this power saving mode, and quite unusable for outside environments when you try to use just this display, like for example on a gimbal. These two issues doesn't exist on the R5 Mark II. Its battery life, while not amazing, is at least double of that what the R5C has. For instance, over twice as long at 4K 24 FPS and more than 4 times longer at 4K 60 FPS. I've heard that the newer batteries from the R5 Mark II also improve the R5C's battery life by maintaining a more stable voltage, but that doesn't make the display any brighter for outdoor use. And that's quite a really good factor for making the R5 Mark II my main camera. Another area where the R5C lacked was stabilization. There was none. While I mostly used Canon RF lenses with IS integrated, the R5 Mark II's in-body image stabilization provides an added level of stability, especially for handheld work. The R5 Mark II offers much better video stabilization than the R5 and vastly better than the R5C, especially noticeable in handheld panning shots. It was quite improved in the R5 Mark II. While I mainly used the R5C here in the studio under these controlled conditions, the autofocus was fine in this regard, but things got trickier when filming outdoors. The R5C's subject detection often became erratic, so I typically turned it off and used just a small center AF point, like during my Randera trip or just shooting outdoor B-roll. Additionally, the R5C still lacks certain features available in the R5 for video or even in photo mode, such as animal eye detection or vehicle recognition. The R5 Mark II offers this and has a much more reliable video autofocus, which makes a huge difference in uncontrolled environments, not like this studio setup here. The R5 Mark II also includes a better selection of focus zones and quick switch to zones without tracking. That's a major plus for me. The HDMI port was also a major issue on the R5C. Its micro HDMI drove me crazy over time. Though I almost always had it in a cage, I often needed different cables to use. Now, with the R5 Mark II, I no longer need micro HDMI cables. I can use regular HDMI cables with the big ports on both sides, which are compatible across all of my gear, saving a lot of hassle in my studio setups or on the go. I love it that I don't have a main camera with micro HDMI anymore. Additionally, the R5C lacks certain features altogether. I've missed the ability to save recording settings in custom picture profiles. For example, a setup for my reoccurring talking head studio with exact same lighting. Canon 709, ISO 250, f1.4, 5200 Kelvin of white balance, or my other setup for outdoor B-roll would be 4K 60 FPS, C-Log 3, ISO 800 and 5600 Kelvins of white balance. With the R5C I had to adjust 4 different settings to switch between the one or the other. On the R5 II I can save one to C1 movie and the other to C2 movie and toggle between them in seconds. Why Canon doesn't offer this for cinema cameras is beyond my expectation. I always encourage people to use this feature in photo modes on their cameras because it saves a lot of time and you can't forget things that are saved down in this profile. But for some reason Canon leaves it out for professional video cameras. Yes, sure, a pro won't forget to adjust any setting, right? Canon has also limited the R5C artificially. While it has Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and USB remote control in photo mode, none of this is available in the video mode. Remote control via USB, for example with a portkeys monitor, doesn't work at all. Wi-Fi only works with an expensive add-on module and Bluetooth isn't available at all. The R5 II, on the other hand, allows USB control. It allows Wi-Fi connectivity for live feeds to a smartphone, to a tablet and adjustments also. And you can start-stop recording via Bluetooth, such with a remote trigger or DJI's gimbal controls. Apparently Canon thinks that pros doesn't need these features since they can buy more expensive equipment that offers fewer capabilities. And then there's C-Log 2. While it's available on the R5C in RAW mode, yes, I know, not everyone wants to shoot RAW all the time. I'm thrilled to have more flexibility in non-RAW video files thanks to C-Log 2 and I love the image coming out of the R5 Mark II. The R5 II also powers up much faster than the R5C in video mode. And since it's recording in MP4 instead of MXF containers, I can finally see the thumbnails and use previews on my macOS. The R5C could record in MP4 as well, but then only with 16-bit audio and without intra-frame codecs. And that's a bummer. Of course, I'm also aware that the R5C has a lot of advantages. I loved the camera for what it could do. Its 4K 60 FPS with downsampling from 8K was and is still amazing in quality, and the lack of overheating is a huge benefit that I miss most. But I can certainly live without it since when I use 4K 60, or in this case on the R5 II 8K 60, it's just for slower bursts. And with using the next storage memory cards, I no longer have overheating issues for my long 4K 24 FPS fine mode talking head videos. Even for lengthy recordings like my camera comparisons on my German channel that could be up to an hour long. What I miss most from the R5C is the video menu, which I really liked. And I also appreciated that I could display the leveling over HDMI, which stays visible when recording as well. The R5C also supports anamorphic desqueeze in camera through it with limited options. It also offers a true Super 35 crop instead of Canon's odd 1.6 crop for stills cameras. And it also includes timecode if needed with an additional port. And also has shutter angle. And that's the thing that I miss most on the R5 Mark II. Additionally, Canon cinema cameras have the best focus peaking I've seen across all brands and also miss this greatly. I also don't understand why Canon restricts button customization on photo camera but allows almost any function to be set to a different button on the cinema models. If Canon is consistent about anything, it's making decisions that don't quite make sense for everyone. But let me know what you think. Did I choose the right video camera? Or would it have been better to stick with the R5C? Let me know in the comments down below. And remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on my channel. And here are 2 more videos that you can check out next. That's it for today from me and see you next time.